US Postal Service follows the IRS. Targets U.S. citizens who oppose Obama and Hillary. The U.S. Postal Service follows the IRS. Targets U.S. citizens who oppose Obama and Hillary. Thank you for tuning in to Laurel at the Black Political Buzz Network. Do you recall from 2010 through 2012 how the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, was used by the Democrats and the Obama administration as a Gestapo, a political entity, or as the Gestapo, like the Gestapo that supported and carried out Hitler's, regime under his administration when he went out against the Jews decades ago, over in Germany. Do you recall how from 2010 through 2012, the IRS was sent out there by the Democrats and Obama administration to target U.S. citizens who oppose with his policies and his agenda? And millions and millions and millions of U.S. citizens were harassed by IRS agents and IRS employees as an organization to shut up people who did not agree with Obama's policies and his administration. So you had white people who were targeted, if they were white Christians who were targeted. Black Christians were targeted. White conservative voters were targeted. Black business owners were targeted. Black celebrities were targeted. Members of the U.S. military and U.S. veterans were targeted. Largely, anybody who would have shown any kind of support monetarily or politically to the Republican Party were targeted by the IRS under the orders of the Obama administration and Democrat key leaders from 2010 through 2012. Well, the GOP, after the GOP, took over Congress in the House and also the U.S. Senate, they came down hard on the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. And by and large, a lot of that targeting by the IRS of U.S. citizens has been toned down or basically almost stopped. So it's not like it was. There may still be a little teeny bit of IRS targeting of U.S. citizens, but because the Republican Party came down on the IRS so hard like a hammer, and they began defunding, the GOP began defunding. That was the only way to stop the IRS from targeting U.S. citizens for political reasons. They had to defund their organization or cut out a lot of their funding. Well, now, the United States Postal Service has entered the political fray of 2016 politics. I repeat, the United States Postal Service has entered the political fray of 2016 politics, and they're doing the same thing, if not worse, than the IRS did from 2010 through 2012, before the GOP stopped them. Let me ask you these 6 questions. If you are a U.S. citizen and you've been experiencing problems with your mail, unusual. If you are a U.S. citizen and you've been experiencing very unusual problems with your mail, let me ask you these 6 questions. Have you been experiencing very, very, very unusual problems with your mail delivery, such as your mail is not being delivered at all, or you're getting someone else's mail? So for like 3 to 6 months or longer, have you been receiving someone else's mail to your address and your mail is going to their address? This has been going on for 3 to 6 months. You complain about it to your local postal carrier, local postmaster. Nothing has been done to change it. Your mail is still going somewhere else, and you're still getting someone else's mail. This has been going on for about 6 months. Okay, if you can answer yes to that question, that's one question. Next question: have you been receiving a lot of your mail that's been tampered with or opened lately? Have you been receiving a lot of your mail that's been tampered or opened? And this has been going on for longer than 6 months. Your mail has been opened or tampered with. You answer yes to that question, That's another sign, okay? Have you had your mail made a request like a change of address or mail forwarding? Have you gone online to submit electronically a change of address request and you paid for that? Because as you know, if you go online to submit an electronic change of address, you have to pay for that. It's not free anymore. So you've gone online and submitted an electronic change of address, and your mail is still not being forwarded to you, or it's been sent to someone else's address. And you received an email confirmation. You received an email confirmation alerting you to the fact that your electronic change of address request was processed, but your mail is still not being forwarded, or it's being forwarded to someone else. Okay, so yes to that question. Or your mail is being sent back to your creditors. If you are a homeowner anywhere in America, your mail is being sent back to your creditors or other people that you do business with, telling the business people or your creditors that you don't own that home anymore and you don't live in that home anymore. And this has been going on for more than 3 months. And you complain about it, and the issue has not been resolved. So the U.S. Postal Service employees are sending your mail directly back to U.S. creditors or people you do business with, telling those business people and creditors that you don't own that home anymore, you don't reside at that address anymore, and your utilities are getting cut off, and etc. because people are getting your mail back saying you don't live there anymore. You complain about it to the post office, they still keep doing it, okay? Or if you want to have a package, or you're not getting your packages, you have paid for a product or a service. You paid for a product or a service or a magazine, and you're not getting the magazines, you're not getting the product or the packages at all. And this has been going on for about at least 6 months. Or last but not least, the post office is telling you if you want to mail a package to someone, you've got to pay for insurance, like priority shipping. Like, for example, priority insurance or shipping, they're telling you got to pay extra. And you paid that extra insurance for priority shipping, and your packages still don't arrive on time. If you can answer yes to at least 3 of those questions, guess what? Ding, 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 ding. You are a victim of political targeting via the United States Postal Service. I repeat, if you can answer yes to at least 3 of those questions, you are a target, a victim of political targeting via the U.S. Postal Service in America. Isn't that a shame that in 21st century America, we have an administration, a presidential administration, and a Democratic Party who is using the IRS first and now the U.S. Postal Service to target U.S. citizens? That's a shame. Now, the majority of these people who are victims of such malfeasance, the majority of these U.S. citizens who I'm speaking of, consumers, who are victims of such malfeasance at the hands of the Postal Service, they live in districts that are heavily supported by the Republican Party. Majority of these people who are experiencing this live in districts that are heavily supported by Republican Party voters. Or these are citizens who have spoken out openly at some point in opposition to Hillary Clinton's candidacy or the Obama administration or Obamacare. So if you live in a district that's heavily populated by Republican or GOP voters, then your mail is being intentionally screwed up by the U.S. Postal Service. Or if you are a U.S. citizen who has openly spoken out in opposition of President Obama's policies, Obamacare, or Hillary Clinton's 2016 bid for president, you are also a target of the U.S. Postal Service targeting you and malfeasance at the hands of the U.S. Postal Service. All for 2016 politics. It's a shame. And you complain and nothing gets done. You submit formal complaints to a U.S. postmaster, nothing gets done. You submit a formal complaint to a U.S. Postal Service Inspector General, nothing gets done. And you're wondering why Here you are, a taxpayer, a registered voter, and your mail is being screwed up like never before. And you are submitting formal complaints to the postmaster, to the US Postal Inspector, and nothing is getting done. It's due to 2016 politics. This is the Obama's way and Hillary's way of intimidating you, showing you how much power they have by messing with your mail. First, your taxes through the IRS. Now it's your mail. This is the new America. Unless voters keep going to the polls and put the right folks in office. It's a shame. And the GOP, and let me tell you something else. In case you didn't know this, in case you were not aware, the United States Postal Service falls under the umbrella of the US Department of Homeland Security. That's right. The United States Postal Service falls up under the umbrella, the government umbrella, the federal government umbrella of the US Department of Homeland Security. That's right. And the chairman of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and Government Affairs is a Republican U.S. Senator named Ron Johnson. Is Ron Johnson aware of this? Is U.S. Senator Ron Johnson a Republican? Is he aware that the U.S. Postal Service is doing this to its own citizens? Does he care? U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, do you care about this? And if you think I'm lying, you can find complaints, consumer affairs complaints, thousands and thousands and thousands of U.S. citizens who are experiencing what I've just described to you. Go to this web address, Consumer Affairs, no spaces, Consumer Affairs, no spaces, .com.us.postal service /delivery. I repeat. I think this is the correct address. It's Consumer Affairs, no spaces, consumeraffairs.com.us.postal service /delivery. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but it's along that lines. And you will find thousands and thousands and thousands of consumer complaints of people complaining about what I just described to you. About them not getting their mail going somewhere else, change the address, not being processed, mail not being forwarded once they do move. U.S. Postal employees sending mail, people who own homes in America, people who are homeowners in America, U.S. Postal employees sending those people's mail back to the creditors, telling the creditors that those homeowners don't live at their address anymore when they still do. People's packages not being delivered. Postal employees telling people they have to pay extra insurance to have packages delivered, and packages are still not being delivered. It's a shame. This is 21st century America. This is 21st century America. This is a shame. All for 2016 politics. Does anyone on Capitol Hill care? Does anyone in Congress care? Now the GOP has already straightened out the IRS. What about the US Postal Service? Is anyone going to look into this? Thousands and thousands and thousands of citizens are going through this. This is harassment at the hands of our own government for politics. So if you spoke out against Obama's policies and his administration or Hillary's candidacy, you can expect to be targeted. If you live in a Republican voter district, your mail will be targeted. Your mail will be messed up. And it's a shame. Does anyone on Capitol Hill care? What about you, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson? Do you care? Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.